So this is going to be a whirlwind hour plus. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you for coming out and joining us tonight. There are lots of other things you could be doing, including a rally. This is going to be a whirlwind hour plus tonight, where we're going to see creative, hands-on ways to make your Seders engaging, exciting, both for kids. But as my kids got older, I realized, no, we want it also for ourselves. It just takes a few steps to transform your Seder into a truly memorable experience. It doesn't take much, but it does take a little effort. And it wouldn't be great if our children anxiously waited the Seder, were active participants in the Seder, ask questions, answer questions, we're awake the whole time, we're excited, we're engaged. This is the ideal that any parent wants at their Seder. And of course, wouldn't it be great if we ourselves were the same? Because I know of a lot of adults that dread going to the Seder, and to them, the Seder drags along. But truly, the Seders can be fun, both for the kids, both for the parents. Like I said, it does take a little planning, but it doesn't take much. It does take a little effort, but not much. Some of our ideas, and I leave one on that I bring back every year because I keep getting people telling me that they used it, and also because we came up with it and conceived it and implemented it within 2 hours before candlelighting. So some of these ideas do take effort, but some really don't. But be forewarned, once you see the excitement in your kids and your family, you too will become addicted, and you will never look at leaving Egypt the same way again. Now, even Rambam, Maimonides, enjoyed the Seder Surprises workshop. I don't think he was on Zoom back then, but in his Hilchot Chametz Matzah and the laws of Chametz Matzah, he talks about how we need to make changes on this night so the children will see, and we will be motivated to ask, why is this night different from all other nights? Until the leader replies to them, this and this occurred, this and this took place. So what changes does Rambam suggest? He should give them roasted seeds, Rambam was Sephardi, and nuts. The table should be taken away before they eat. Now, I remember hearing that. Whoop, something's going on. Now, I remember hearing that when I was a little kid, that the table would be taken away. I never actually saw it. And matzot should be snatched from each other and things like that. Now that, it's 1,000 years later, and we are still doing that. I think that's really cool. Thank you to the Adult Ed Committee of Shari Tefillah, Rinat Yisrael, Beth Aaron, the YPA of Yavin Academy. Special thanks to Shir Shaiwitz, Rabbi Shaiwitz's wife, who's been a sounding board to me for all these years, for ideas for Pesach and for the Seder. We've put this together. I think this is the 10th or 12th year we've done this. And a special thanks to Rabbi Shaiwitz and the RCBC for helping take this workshop online in 2020 during the height of COVID. And of course, a special thanks to my wife and all the other Saldans who put up with my antics and come up with their own. This is not just for those who are watching tonight, but also those who will be watching, at least in the first couple of days, online after tonight. Send me a note, send me an email. I don't know if the chat records, so don't send it via the chat. But if send me an email, I'll pick one at random, and after a workshop, someone will win a special prop for the Seder. I've done this every year. It's come back. People have really enjoyed what they've received. I think it's also important this year of all years to keep in mind that while we want to engage our children at the Seder, we need to be cognizant of what's going on in Israel and how there are people who may not be able to be home with the family for the Seder, soldiers, hostages, other support staff. And we can and maybe should discuss this with our children and guests. I was having problems finding the words to put this together, but someone emailed me today saying they're in Israel, they're not going to be able to watch during the workshop, but they'll watch it later. But if I didn't mind, how would I feel about asking people to dedicate some of their Seder activities and to have kavanah for the safety and safe return of Israel's soldiers and hostages? That would be really special. she's speaking as a mother of a soldier serving Gaza. And I said, you just put it perfectly. And I quote her right here. One of my ideas, and I didn't want to portray a real family. I had AI do this, my first attempt at AI, to make an empty place setting. And that's one of the things we will be doing in addition to talking about what's going on in Israel. We'll be setting an empty setting to remind us that there are people who won't be able to come to the Seder that night. Now let's back up. Some of the things that my wife and I have realized over the years, I don't think we went in thinking these things, but in retrospect, we realized what works and what didn't work. Things that worked had friendly competition. Friendly competition is good. We don't want real competition between the kids, but you want friendly competition. Somewhere they can work together, somewhere it's just all in fun. Get the kids invested in the effort. Have your kids help you think of ideas, design them, implement them, give them a job, even if it's something as simple as cutting, you'll see points later, cutting the points out. Food is good, hungry is bad, movement is good, stationary is bad. I think those are self-explanatory. And we'll see during this workshop different ways to bring food and bring movement into the Seder to get people moving again and get their energy up again. Less is sometimes more. And this is, I think, important. And it's a hard thing for people to say sometimes. I know in our family, we say the whole Haggadah out loud, but we do it in ways where we go around the table, we alternate people talking, but we also, and this depends on the age of the kids, we focus on what they will get the most out of. When they were younger, there were certain things we focused on, and we kind of rushed through other parts. And now that they're older, it seems that there are things that they don't want to focus on, but there are other parts that we never would have thought they would have wanted to focus on. So yes, we talk about how, and there's the parak in Haggadah where the Rabbanim were awakened, or were told that it was time for Kriya Shema in the morning. And they had been awake all night talking about the Yetzias Mitzrayim. That may work for them, but if you have kids at the table, that may not. And it's an important thing to keep in mind that maybe less is more. Focus on what they will get the most out of. My youngest daughter made some comment once that loot is good. Goodie bags are a child's best friend. I think she was 8 at the time. She said everyone, when they leave a birthday party, wants to go home with a goodie bag. So keep that in mind when you're looking for things to do at the Seder, that maybe there are things that props you can put on the table, or pieces of paper, points you can put on the table that they can take home. They may never look at it again, but some of them will. And if nothing else, they have that opportunity to have a memory of the Seder. Do try these at home, but don't do everything. You're going to see ideas that we've put together over 30 years worth of Sedarim. Don't do everything. Just do a couple things each year. One, you want to have ideas for future years. And two, it's just too much to do everything. Just pick a couple things to do each year. 2 or 3 ideas alone are enough to turn your Seder into a rocking Seder. And I use that term, thank you to one person who emailed me a couple years ago. Pre-game show before the Seder starts. So we have approximately 30 people online with us, 36 people online with us. In the live version, when we've done this live, it's very easy to go around the room and ask, when do we think the Seder starts? It's a little bit harder when we're online on Zoom. And I found it doesn't really work to sort of ask questions in that way. But think to yourselves, when does the Seder really start? And the first thing that comes to mind to most people is when you sit down, or when you go to the table and you make Kiddush, Kadesh, the order of the Seder, Kadesh, Rochatz, Karpas, Yachatz. Kadesh starts the Seder. Well, that's nice and that's technical, but maybe we can push that start back a little bit. Picture you're a guest at someone's house and you're arriving at someone's house, or you have guests themselves that are coming to your house, and they are arriving at your house, and maybe they see this on their front lawn. Anyone old enough, of an old enough generation, will remember Burma shave signs. So we put this up on our front lawn, and then thank you, Janet Hode, for also putting up on her front lawn. In our quest to be free, God sent us down to the sea, Seder Surprises. 4 cups of wine at the meal, and 1 extra, 1 to deal, Seder Surprises. As soon as they walk to your house, they're going to say, wait a minute, there's something going on here that's different from any other Seder I've been at. Tonight is going to be different from all other nights. So you can already start the Seder even as your guests are arriving at your house. Maybe they walk in your front door, and right in front of them is a doorpost that has a red tablecloth on it. And as of last year, also a paintbrush on it. Anyone who's here for this workshop already has an idea of what that represents. But people walking in are going to say, wait a minute, something's going on here. Something different is going on tonight. Maybe they look into the living room where they're going to put their coats down on a couch, and they see that there's a doorway that's covered with a blue tablecloth. And they say, something is different tonight. Maybe they look toward the dining room, and let's say they see a pile of books and no dishes, and the table's not set. They're going to have an idea of what that night is going to be like. Or maybe they see the finest of china, the thinnest of crystal, a white linen tablecloth on the table. They're going to have an idea of what the Seder is going to be like that night. And they may not be so free to ask questions or to move about for fear they're going to break something. But let's say they turn to the dining room and they see this. They see plastic swords that look like snakes. They see wine bottles that have special labels on them. Maybe they see frogs on the table. Maybe they see paper hay on the table. Maybe they see little plastic wild animals on the table. They're going to get an idea of that this night is going to be a little bit different. Now, this is our table from 2014. 5 years, jump 5 years, and for the last couple of years, I've forgotten to take pictures before Yom Tov. But this is our table from 2019, and you can see as our kids got older, our table changed. They didn't want as many props. They wanted a more sophisticated, a more adult-like table. Look in the back. We have a mural. I got a mural of Moshe splitting the sea. I don't know if this one's still available, but on Amazon, they have a number of murals, photo backdrops, and they're fairly inexpensive. I think this one was under 20. You'll see another one that I've used that I got for about $20. I don't know what the current prices are, but that's what the prices were at that point. You can see a plush louse that I found on Amazon, a plush sheep, bowls that look like frogs, different things to put on the table to remind you of what's going to go on at the Seder. Thank you, Janet Hode, for sending me a picture of her table in 2021. You can see she has another mural in the back as a backdrop. If you look really closely, it's hard to see in this picture. She has a whole panorama of Bnei Israel leaving Egypt, crossing the sea, and going to Eretz Israel. Off to the side, she had little bricks that if the kids were tired, they could go off into a corner and play with. This was another backdrop that I used one year. Again, they're all on Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive. Fun, just changes the mood of the room. Maybe your guests walk in your front door and they see this staring at them. A little baby pool with a basket and a baby doll in it. Okay, again, anyone who's at this workshop is going to get what this is. Moshe, baby Moses in the basket on the Nile. Maybe on the doors, maybe on the walls, they'll see signs, house for sale or garage sale, because we're about to leave Egypt and we need to sell our house. We need to get rid of stuff. I think these signs I downloaded off an NCSY website. For a number of years, we got a plush sheep and we tied it to my son's bedpost. As a, because traditionally Bnei Israel picked their sheep for the Korban Pesach and tied it to their bedpost during the days and during the week before the Korban Pesach, before Pesach. Thank you, Rena Ray. She put together a newsletter with her kids and had the kids interview different people, different participants at the Seder, interview them, some ideas that you can ask your kids to ask questions about. What will you miss when you're leaving Egypt? What won't you miss? What was your job in Egypt? What was your occupation? How did your master treat you? We did this one year, and our guests came to our Seder, and some of them actually kept their persona up through the whole Seder. It was actually quite fun. Another idea that you might do, and now it's about just under 3 weeks before the holiday, so do it now if you want to do this. Think about who's coming to your Seder and give each family member or guest a character from the Haggadah or from the story to get dressed up as. Let them pick who they want or assign it. There are many people to choose from: Moshe, Pharaoh, Aaron, Miriam, Yocheved, on and on. Here's some examples. This gives your guests and your family a little bit of homework to do, but also makes them vested in the effort. Gives them now a responsibility. Now it becomes their Seder also, and they're going to take this more seriously. Also, it's just fun. Other costumes. I don't know if you can see me. I'll stand up a little bit, and you can sort of see. We got one year I went to one of the local fabric stores and got all their ends. This is my son, must be about 12, 14 years ago, wearing a slave costume that we made. Went to Home Depot, got a thick rope for the belt, went to our local park and found a stick that worked as Moses' staff. We got a Santa Claus beard from Amazon, because the paragraph in the Haggadah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, I was like a man of 19 years. And the story goes that, I'm sorry, he was as if he was 70 years old. The story goes that when he was 19, he was made head of the Sanhedrin, head of the Jewish court. And his beard and hair turned white overnight to gain him more respect among his peers. So for that paragraph, you can put on a white beard. Pharaoh costume is obvious what that would do, although you'll see another idea for the Pharaoh costume a little bit later. This year, and this is hot off the press, during Parshat Bo, so what is that, 10 weeks ago already, our rabbi gave a speech, and in it he talked about the pasuk from the Parsha, that this is how you should come to eating your Korban Pesach. You should eat it, you should be dressed, your loins girded is the translation I got, your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand, and that's how you should eat it hurriedly. This is the Pesach offering for Hashem. So, along with slave costumes already, so I've ordered online multiple little canes and sandals. And every guest at our Seder is going to get a set of those, and that's how we're going to go into the Seder. Place cards at the beginning of the Seder so people can find their place, but also is another way to create some fun at the table. So this is what we did in 2022. We made a takeoff on a Facebook page. If you look at it closely, you can come up with some of the inside jokes. Last year, thank you, Yossi Prager, who attended this workshop in 2022. And he emailed me saying that he had done something with papyrus. And he had extra. Would I like it? I said, sure. So I grabbed it, and of course, trying to think what to do with it. And we came up with the idea to make place cards with it. So we took everyone's name, every guest's name who was going to be at the Seder, and typed their name up and changed the font into hieroglyphics and put that around the table. And during those 5 or 10 minutes, as everyone's getting their wits about them, people had to figure out where they were sitting. Sounds complicated, but it's actually not all that, because the same number of characters as in your English name will be in the hieroglyphics, and you can see double letters sometimes. So people fairly quickly figured it out. It was another fun way. This probably isn't going to work so well with younger kids, but our Seder had teens and adults at it last year. We've done airline boarding passes, although I think the younger generation won't actually know what those are anymore because they're not really used. We've used baseball cards. We've made chariot licenses. I think this is the last year, or last year was the last year that the New York City Metro cards were in service. So this is equivalent. The Mitzrayim card was the equivalent of a Metro card. We've made Israeli passports, which actually were a whole lot more complicated than I thought they'd be. We've made plague bills. And I think this is what we're going to use this year, a takeoff on the front cover of a chapter of Gemara or Talmud. And we'll personalize it. You can see my name, Talmud Solden, and Masechet Zalman. So that would be my place card. Okay. We've sat down, we've got everyone at the table. All your guests are going to recognize this night is going to be different from all other nights. Game on. So a number of years ago, when my oldest, I think she was 8, 2 hours to Yom Tov, 2 hours to candlelighting, she turned to me and said, let's do something at the Seder that'll be interesting. Okay, what do you want to do? So she said, maybe we should vote. As we go paragraph through paragraph, we should have people vote on whether they think that paragraph relates to slavery or freedom and why. I said, great, let's do it. But rather than just have people vote, I said, let's do this a little hands-on. Let's get something in hand. So we ran around the house, found popsicle sticks, colored paper, and we very quickly made paddles like they used to use in the Olympics for voting. And we made a number of these for one of them for each of our guests. And then not every paragraph, but some paragraphs, we had the kids pick which ones, and we had everyone at the table vote whether they thought this paragraph related to freedom or slavery, and again, why. Gets your kids involved. My kid had a job. She was vested in this effort. She made it work. This has to be probably the #1 idea that we've had over the years. To be honest, it wasn't even ours. We were, I think, at dinner one night during Chol Hamoed for Pesach many years ago, and we were at a family, and we asked them, so what do you do at the Seder? How do you keep the kids interested? And they said, we give out points. Anytime they ask a question, anytime they answer a question, maybe just for the hell of it, we give them a point to keep them interested. So, okay, so how do you keep track of them? Well, every kid has a book. They have a bookmark in it, and that they move the bookmark to keep track of the points. That's great. My wife and I went home and said, we like that idea, but let's take it to another level. So we came up with currency. This is all PDF'd. Anyone who wants it, please shoot me an email. Easy to shoot it back to you. This is all PDF'd, 12 per page. We print this out during the days before the holiday. On the day before Erev Pesach, we have the kids cut these out. And that way they're already getting interested in seeing what might be going on at the Seder. At the Seder, we pass these out. Someone asks a question, they get a point. They answer a question, they get a point. And just to create excitement, if there's a law, we'll pass them out just for the hell of it. Friendly competition. You can get, this is not really competition. The kids at a certain point get that this isn't a real competition. Although my wife for several years would go to one of the local dollar stores. There's Amazing Savings here in Teaneck. I think Rockland County also has amazing savings. There are dollar stores all around, and she would get little gifts for the kids, and whoever had the most points would get to pick the first gift. One person I know, I don't think, I think he told me it was not going to be on tonight, but wanted to watch it afterwards. And he hands out currency like this and then takes the kids to a toy store during Chol Hamoed, during the days between the holidays, and has the kids pick out gifts according to the amount of currency that they received during the Seder. Another year, again, my oldest daughter said, she's a little bit older, said, I want to do something interesting. What can we do? I said, I don't know. I want to push it off onto her, let her come up with ideas. Go look online, go see what you come up with. So she looks online, she comes back to me a little bit later and said, I found this website, Baba Ganoush. Not sure if it's still active. I remember it being a very good website for lots of great ideas, both educationally and for ideas like this at the Seder and for other holidays. And she said, I like the idea of a Seder bingo board. Great. So we looked at theirs and it just wasn't going to work for our family. We wanted something more, a little bit more colorful, a little bit more lively. So she and I sat down after dinner every night for that week, and we came up with ideas for what would go on the board. We came up with ideas for people to say things, for people to move around, and you can see some of them. We designed boards for adults, for older kids, and also for younger kids, making the difficulty level change depending on the age. This worked for us for about 2 years. We put out banana slices, we put out carrot slices, we put out jelly rings, chocolate chips, marshmallows, things that the kids could put on the box when they hit that section. So the number 2 from the left, wash without a bracha. That's orchatz. So they could put a marshmallow in there. Teach us a Pesach song. They get to put a mark on there. And we thought, actually, as soon as they got 5 in a row, someone would yell bingo and that would be the end. No, they kept this going through the whole Seder. Little bit of friendly competition. My daughter certainly was invested in this. We had these laminated. You can also use page protectors, plastic page protectors. We had the younger kids cut these out with the lamination. So they were involved in this. Food, there was food on the table for the kids to surreptitiously eat along the way. Seder can be long, so you want to come up with ideas to put food on the table, and this was one way. Banana slices, jelly rings, chocolate chips, carrot slices, to keep them going. Some of these ideas, we had them moving around the room, and like I said, jobs for the kids. Give them a job during the day before the holiday, while you're trying to cook and while you're trying to clean the house and get the table set. Gives you a moment to breathe. Come to karpas. So in my family growing up, this was always a little sprig of parsley dipped into salt water. Very nice. We remember the tears of our ancestors, but parsley's not all that filling and doesn't get you very far through the rest of the night. When I heard that Rabbi Teitz, who's rabbi in Elizabeth, New Jersey, he uses bananas for karpas. I said, aha, light bulb goes off. He said, this is great. We have to do this. So we got bananas, made banana slices, put plates around the table with toothpicks in the slices. We also, for the kids, and our rabbi wanted us to put salt water out on the table also for anyone who wanted, we put little bowls of chocolate syrup out. So kids get to take the banana, the bracha, the blessing is ha'adamah, so this counts for karpas, and they get to dip into chocolate. This is a lot more filling than just parsley. The chocolate has a little bit of sugar in it, has a little bit of caffeine in it, keeps them going through a long night, what can be a long night. I think this was right before COVID hit. We're at a bar mitzvah, and Howie Kaufman and Micha Kaufman come up to us and said, we were at one of your talks, and we love it, let us tell you what we do for Karpas. It's a do tell. They make French fries. One of the common traditions is to use potatoes for Karpas. And so, and all these bells and whistles and flags are going off in my head. And said, of course we have to do this. So this was our plan for that year. Of course, I get sick with COVID, so I'm at the end of the table, out of commission. I can't do anything. Lo and behold, my kids have made French fries, and I had already designed boxes, takeout boxes with a great little label on it, to teach a little bit more about the Seder. This is a takeoff on the paragraph about the 5 rabbis that are learning all night in Bnei Brak. And they came out to the Seder table with the French fries, and that's what we dipped that year. French fries, potatoes, very common minhag for karpas. Ketchup has salt and vinegar. So everything's covered right there. There's a gentleman from Rockland County. I forget exactly which town he's from. And he told me at his Seder, they stop the Seder when it comes to karpas. They get everyone into the kitchen and they fry up latkes for karpas, and then they dip them. And I was like, wow, what an amazing idea. People really have great ideas. Hopefully one of these years we'll actually do that. I'm hoping for this year. Comes to the 4 questions. So we were at friends of ours in Denver one year, and their custom is when it comes to the 4 questions, they say the 4 questions in as many languages as people know at the table. I think that year we had Hebrew and English, Russian, Yiddish, and I think Spanish. May have been more, I don't remember. I came back, and I think this was early on during Google Translate, and I said, oh, what a great way. I'll just take all these, I'll translate it in all these different languages. I'm looking online, and I see, wait a minute, someone's already done this. So Murray Spiegel and Ricky Stein have put this book together. It's been a work of love for them over the last, I hear, at least 20, 30 years, to gather Manishtana in as many languages and have people, native speakers, translate the Manishtana into as many languages as they can. One year at our Seder, now we use this every year. We say a couple in different languages, and it's fun. One year at our Seder, we pass the book around, it falls open in front of one of our guests on Klingon. Anyone who's a Star Trek fan knows what Klingon is. Little did we know that he was a major Star Trek fan, and he belts out the Manishtana in Klingon, which is this loud, guttural, bass language, bass sounding language. And it just set the tone for the rest of the Seder. We just had a blast. Highly recommended. For the 10 plagues, we've done different things. We've put bowls of cranberry sauce out many, many years ago. We've made cups of Jello. I think this is 1 or 2 years ago. I found cups online through Amazon that turn red when you put ice water in them. I think it was ice water, not hot water. In heat, they turn light. In cold, they turn dark red. And that became sort of representation at the table for dam, for blood. Frogs, we've collected all the plush frogs any of the kids have gotten at different birthday parties. Oriental Trading, Rhode Island Novelty are great places to order little props like this. They're easy, they're cheap, they're plentiful. Kinim, lice was a little bit more difficult. I showed you the plush louse that I found on Amazon a couple years ago. Number of years ago, I came up with the idea to use jimmies or sprinkles, ice cream sprinkles on the table as a representation for lice. One of our friends used what do you call it? I'm blanking on the term. Confetti to represent lice. That takes a lot more to clean up, so we didn't use that. Wild animals, Arov, we've found plastic animals online. I think these are from this These one up in the upper corner are from Oriental Trading. I've seen animals like this in Amazing Savings. I've seen these. I was just in Walmart 2 weeks ago and saw them on sale in their toy section. Lots of different things you can use. Dever for pestilence. We tip them over at the table rather than do anything else. Boils, shchin. We've used bubble wrap with maybe double back tape on it, or we've gotten round red stickers from Staples. You can take little marshmallows and bite the end off and stick them on your face. Barad, hail. You can use marshmallows again. We've used ping pong balls. I think it was last year, we made ice cubes with mandarin orange slices in them because in the text it says hail, the hail was fire and ice together. So this is a way to represent that. Locusts, we've gone online, we've found lots of plentiful insects. I think this bag came from Oriental Trading. There's a teacher store in the town next door to us in Hackensack, and I found a tub of bugs many years ago there. Darkness, choshech. In our house, we don't turn lights on or off on the Yom Tov, so we get sunglasses. And that's our representation. Makat b'chorot, the plague of the firstborn, has been a little bit more difficult over the years. I've had people suggest to me, oh, just get those little coffins for Halloween or get a little skeleton. I'm like, no, that's not going to work for us. Maybe for other people was not going to work for us. There is a current in Judaism that says we still need to be sensitive to the Egyptians as to what they were going through. We need to be thankful that we didn't go through it and that God saved us. But very openly, while we say halal, full halal the first 2 days, we say only chatzi halal, second to the last days. Some people say that's a way of a memory to the Egyptians, how they suffered through this, and God's creatures suffered even as He was saving us. So it's been a little bit more difficult to come up with ideas for this. Murray Spiegel, the gentleman that helped edit the 300 Ways to Say in L'Man Shtana, he had an idea for adults. He got pictures of everyone that would be coming to a Seder, figured out who was a Bechor, who was a firstborn, and put a big X through their face. Sets those around the table so everyone now knows where they're sitting, but they can't figure out why some of the people have X's through their face until they get to the 10 plagues. And then very quickly they realize, aha, that's what that means. And it's a way of driving home, to adults at least, how thankful we need to be that we didn't suffer that plague, and how thankful we need to be to God that He saved us from that. Because on average, I think it works out to be about 1 in 10 of us would have died with the firstborn. We, as you've seen already, we put a red tablecloth up on our doorpost. And this past year, I came up with the idea to put a paintbrush, because that's really right with the Korban Pesach. Bnei Israel were told to paint the blood onto their doorpost as a way of reminding God to pass over their house. In the age of COVID, yes, it's now 2024, but certainly the last couple of years, and for me and our family, where we have a lot of contacts within the hospital, we know a lot of people that passed away and became very sick, and it really was a day-to-day issue for us. Day-to-day, really a plague that we saw in real life. So it became a way for us to impress on our kids how devastating the plagues might have been to the Egyptians, and how thankful, because we were seeing it right in front of us, how thankful we as Bnei Israel would have to have been in Egypt, because we were saved from the plagues and we had not been affected by them. So the different ways to relate the plagues to the kids, and especially Makat B'chorot to the kids, but I would encourage people to be a little bit careful. You don't want to make this sort of too playful because that takes away from death. At the same time, it's okay to represent this in different ways. Now, at this point in our Seder, we stop our Seder. We get everyone up and we walk through the house. I don't know if you can see the cursor, but we walk from the dining room through the house, through the living room, through the doorway that has a blue tablecloth, through the Red Sea. We come back through the hallway and back to the dining room table. We started doing this many, many years ago when the kids were young, just as a way to get some energy moving again at the table. Now we do this every year, even with adult Seders, even when we're only adults and teens. We do this every year, but we do try to change it up each year a little bit and either add to it or change a little bit so that it remains fresh. One year we found a stick in our local park and we turned it into Moses' staff. Traditionally, Moses' staff had an abbreviation on it for the 10 plagues, Tzach, Adash, Ba'achav. So we wrote that on the stick, and we had one of the kids lead us through our living room, through the doorway, through the Red Sea, and using the stick, was able to part the Red Sea for us. And then we came back to the table and finished and kept going with the Seder. Again, send me an email. Tell me ideas that you've liked. Tell me ideas that have worked in your house. Anyone who sends me an email over the next couple of days, we'll pick one randomly, and someone will get a prop for their Seder. Another year, we printed out Az Yashir. Az Yashir is the tefillah, the prayer that we say every morning, but this is the song that was sung by Bnei Yisrael as they're walking through the Red Sea. So we printed this out and we had the kids sing this as we're walking through our house. You get a couple lines in. One year, I stole away upstairs, ostensibly to go to the bathroom, quickly changed into a pharaoh costume, and as the table is going through the 10 plagues, as they finish the 10 plagues, I storm downstairs, get everyone up, and chase them through the living room, through the Red Sea. And that's what we did that year. One year, the kids said, we want to do something. So we got another blue tablecloth. These picnic tablecloths are great. And they printed out pictures of fish and colored them in, and we taped them up, and we hung this in the hallway leading back to our dining room. So now every year we walk through the Red Sea and we come back walking through walls of water, so to speak. Miminam umismolam, as it says in the Torah, that they walked with walls of water to the right and to the left. One year, we stopped them before coming back to the dining room table, and we said we reappropriated the swimming pool that we had baby Moshe in, and we put a little palm tree next to it. And we said, what's this? And the kids are looking like, what do you mean, what's this? We don't know what this is. I said, well, what's next in the story? What do you mean, what's next in the story? We crossed the Red Sea, we're done. No, what's next in the story? The Torah doesn't end there. What's next? And finally, slowly, someone realizes, oh yeah, they get to Marah, where the water was bitter. And what happens? The people complain, the water is bitter. Moshe complains to God, and God says, stop complaining to me. Topple that tree into the water, and the water will be sweet. So we had them topple the palm tree into the water. Now suddenly they realize the story keeps going. Very quick. This took all of half a minute, 1 minute, but it's a lesson that they'll learn, and they'll have experienced, and they won't forget that the story keeps going. There's more to the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. This past year, we had an older crowd, and we said, okay, let's do something a little bit different. So during the week or two before the holiday, we picked out names of places that Bnei Yisrael stopped in the desert, and we printed them up on pieces of paper, places where something happened. Print them up on pieces of paper and hung them around on the hallway. As we walk through the Red Sea, we come back through this hallway, we now stop, and people are given the assignment, a homework assignment. Just come up with, this is your place. Give us a 1 or 2 liner on what happened there. Ask your parents, ask the rabbi, ask so and so in shul, Google it, Yahoo it. I don't care. I don't care how you get the answer. 1 or 2 lines on what happened there. Nothing major. I don't want to hold the Vartara. I don't want a whole long speech. I just want 1 or 2 lines. And that's what we did as we came back. Everyone had their homework assignment, and as we got to each of their places, they told the 1 or 2 lines about what happened at that place, and they learned something about their place, and we all learned something about each of the places where Bnei Yisrael stopped in the desert. Just to reemphasize, it's important that we don't let people go hungry. In our house, we try to put several bowls of charoset around the table. The bingo boards we saw. My wife, if she sees someone flagging during Magid, will pull out a bowl of matzo ball soup and hand it to them, make sure they get something in their stomach. Bananas, chocolate syrup. We mentioned French fries, even latkes. Anyway, think of different ways to get food into people, and certainly the kids, to keep them sort of eating along the way, to keep them from getting hungry. Hangry is not a good thing to have at the Seder. We don't force the kids to stay at the table. The older kids tend to. The younger kids at our Seder tend to stay, but not always. And in our living room, we'll put books that we've collected over the years. Anything that has something to do with Pesach, we'll put them out on the coffee table. I think 1 or 2 years we found little play tents and put them in the living room and put books in those so the kids could have a little bit of quiet time in a play tent. You can even put in the roof of these tents pictures of clouds or pictures of pillars of fire to represent the pillars of fire and the clouds that protected and led Bnei Israel through the desert. No one is forced to stay at the table. We don't want them to feel forced, but we want them to have something to do that may relate to Pesach. In addition to the place cards, thank you, Janet Hode, for showing what she did. And we had put together a number of boxes for people, and we set out on the table, and we put random objects in them. So that if the Seder looked like there was a lull in the Seder, we could just turn to someone and say, open your box and tell us what's in your box. And why'd you put that in the box? So you see a little bow. So someone might say, oh, it's a bow tie. I want to look nice when we get to Sinai to receive the Torah. There's a game piece in there because it's going to be a long, long time in the desert. We want to be able to keep busy and have things for the kids to do. We also put 1 or 2 liner Divrei Torah, little blurbs in there that if people didn't want to come up with something on their own, they'd have something ready-made that they could say, so that they could also have something to say. Thank you, Janet, for showing. She took this idea and took it to another level. We are leaving Egypt, so she made moving boxes out of this. And I thought this idea was just brilliant, and I wish I had thought of it. And she put these boxes off to the side of her table. 2 or 3 years ago, two of our guests, brought different charosets from around the world. I remember one being a lemon one that I really liked, and I've yet to be able to recreate it. And they brought different charosets to our table. This is just number of charosets that I've just downloaded online and put together into 2 pages. Now the older kids, a little bit more of a struggle because they're not going to be, as our kids have aged, they turn to us and we don't like the props. We don't want to throw ping pong balls around the table. It's just not fun for us. So we've worked at finding things for them to do and finding things for them that a little bit more age appropriate. Now, first of all, you can always use the older kids to use them to throw the ping pong balls around. Use them as the leaders of the Seder for the younger kids. So that's definitely something that they can do, and I would encourage you to do, because then it becomes their Seder also, and they're going to make sure it works. But we've also come up with other ideas. I'm big into little word games. This is one word game. 4 equals N of C of wine. 4 equals number of cups of wine. So something very quick. 10 equals number of P and E. Number of plagues in Egypt. Came up with a couple sheets of these. I don't think we played these at the Seder, but we were walking to lunch one day and we played these all the way to lunch. A lot of fun. A couple years ago, the second one, these pictorial mathematical math problems were popular, so I put one together for Pesach. We've made word searches for Pesach. This is one we put together for our shul newsletter. Basically takes the paragraph that is recited in the Haggadah, and we turned it into a word search. We bought the Jewish edition of Taboo at one of our local Jewish bookstores, and we pulled out all the cards that relate to Pesach. And again, we didn't play this at the Seder, we played this over lunch one day. If you go online, there's a website, Simchat Yechiel, and they have different table games to play at different holiday meals, Pesach included. And they have their own PDF version of Taboo, of Pesach Taboo, all ready to go, all ready to print out. Their websites you can go to design mazes. Piece of matzahs always looked to me like a maze, so I overlaid a maze onto a piece of matzah. We've made other word games. So this is one. The clue, you have to come up with a word that has the sound in it, die, as in Dayenu. I beta tested this with some of the nurses in the hospital where I work while we were waiting for a patient to come for a procedure. And we had about 10, 15 minutes waiting for the patient to come. And they're getting into this. Other than the Jewish references, which they didn't get, but the other ones, they were having a blast with this. So as an example, number 2, ancient animals. Dinosaurs. For those who are a little bit more academic, cross the circle or 2R. Diameter. The third one, roll the dice. So you can see we came up with multiples of these. I think we actually came up with more than 30. And things for the kids, if they're bored, they can play with this. Things for adults to look at when they're bored during the Seder. My son came up with this one. So let's take words that start with PAS, as in Passover. So the first one's obvious, Passover. From one place to another, passage, I think that's what that is. In a car, on a plane, on a boat, I think that's passenger. So this is just another word game that we came up with. Thank you, Sari, for allowing me to share this. Sarah Kapitnikov has come up with a couple of these for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. She calls them what for. She's a grid of 16 words on them, and you need to go through them and find 4 words that relate to each other. I've seen some of the answers, not for this, but for her Rosh Hashanah one, which is what got me excited by this. And I didn't always agree with her 4 that related. We came up with other connections between for the words, but I think you can play this any way you want, the official way or just to have fun also. I apologize, Sari, if that takes away from it. But we've really enjoyed these. We enjoyed these over Rosh Hashanah, and she just came out with these for Pesach, and I hope to play these during the Chag, during the holiday. Afikoman fun. When we first started having Sedarim, we put out one Afikoman for the Seder, and that was it. And one kid found it, and that was it. And then after a couple of years of the other kids crying, we didn't get a chance. It was no fair. We never get to find anything. We said, okay, let's put an Afikoman out for all the kids. And we hide an Afikoman for each of the kids, and each kid would get a chance to find it. And I highly recommend that because it solves a lot of problems. And if you have kids who are in day schools, they're all going to come home at one point with little envelopes or napkins that are made to hold the afikoman in. and use all of those and hide afikomans. But after a couple years of that, our kids came to us and said, yeah, this is no longer fun. It's too easy. Give us something that's more challenging. So one year we came up with something, I call it tickets, afikoman tickets. And we print this up, and on the back side, we put one letter on each card or on each ticket, which writes out a phrase or the clue. In this case, it inside matzah box. We had a matzah box sitting on our dining room table, and that's where we hid the afikoman, right in plain view. We put, I think there are 15 of these, so we put on the back side the different steps of the Seder, Kadesh, Rochatz, Karpas, Yachatz. We put on the other side the clue, and we cut them up and hid them around the house. And the kids, there are enough of these, so all the kids get to find something, and then they have to work together to put the clue together. How do you know how to put the clue in the right order? Well, if you know the order of the steps of the Seder, you can put the cards in that order and then turn them over, and now you can read the clue. That was one of the ones we've done. 2 years ago, my younger daughter put together a series of jigsaw puzzles. She took a picture of this is a bookshelf in our living room, and she handed out to the kids during dinner a little plastic bag with the pieces in it that she had cut to make a jigsaw puzzle. And they had to put it together and figure out where in the house that bookshelf was. They went to the bookshelf, they found another puzzle, put it together. It was a dollhouse. At the dollhouse, they found another puzzle, put it together. It was our dining room table. They came back to the dining room table, and they're looking all around the dining room table. And underneath the dining room table, I taped an Amazon bag to it, where very quickly after we split the matzah, I very quickly slid the afikoman into that. So I didn't have to hold on to it at all for the whole Seder. I didn't have to worry about someone taking it from me. And there it was, ready for them to find later on during dinner. I forget if this is last year or the year before. I wanted to do this on a plate that was on the table that would be holding matzah, but the online company that does this ran out of plates, so I had to make a towel for me. And if anyone can look at this and very quickly, if you know what, once you know what it is, you can figure out how to figure out the clue. And this is Braille. So kids, once they realized this was Braille, ran to a dictionary, found a key for Braille in the dictionary. I think I also had a key pre-printed up just in case. Then they could figure out how to read the clue and to figure out where the afikoman was. I forget if it said in the fireplace or in a plant or in the oven. I don't remember what it was. But you can figure out different places around your house to hide something. We've done multiples of these over the years. So, and tailor them to the kids and to your guests. So one year, I hope you can see the cursor up here on the top right. We had multiple ninth graders at our table, including my oldest. So they were taking ninth grade biology. So we designed an afikoman clue based around tRNA and ninth grade biology. In 10th grade, they were taking chemistry, so we used the periodic chart to come up with clues, come up with a different alphabet or different numbers to represent the letters for them to figure out the clue. We've used blank puzzle pieces that we wrote on, and then we spread the puzzle pieces through the house, and they had to find the puzzle pieces and put it together to come up with the clue. Was what the Braille was supposed to be looking like. A couple years ago, I called this stretch font. If you take any font and you stretch it the right way, it looks like long lines and basically illegible. But if you take this paper and you turn it on its side, you can then read the clue. And they had to figure out how to read this clue. And once they did, they could then figure out where the afikoman was. Our younger daughter created a American Sign Language club in her high school. So we made an afikoman clue based around sign language. You can see, make sure you look where, and it kept going, where something happened. So these are different ideas that we've done for the Afikoman. You can even do sort of an escape room type. So we took a toolbox and found something that would allow us to put multiple locks on it. And for each lock, there was a clue that we handed out during the course of the Seder. And the different families at the Seder had the whole magid, the whole dinner to come up to figure out the clue. Comes time for the Afikoman, and each one of us unlocked one of the locks, only to find that one of our guests had figured out how to steal the Afikoman from the back of the toolbox. So perfect. It's exactly what happens with Afikomans, and it was just brilliant. My son and I said, what can we do for Kos Eliyahu? You know, everyone in my family growing up, my father always sort of pushed the table a little bit to make the wine or the grape juice in the cup look like it was being moved and Eliyahu was drinking. So we 3D printed a cup. It's called a Pythagorean cup, where if you fill it part way, it doesn't empty. But when you fill it the rest of the way, come time for Shvach Chamatcha, for the time to open the door, you fill it all the way, and the cup empties. AKA Eliyahu is drinking from it, and hopefully he's come to our house that year, and Mashiach will be coming that year. 2 years ago, we took all these jokes and dad jokes and puns that we've been accumulating over the years, and just like is done for Rosh Hashanah, traditionally at one of the dinners for Rosh Hashanah, people read simanim or signs. An example might be gezer, you eat some carrots, as a way to say that God should take away the evil decree, gezer meaning a decree. So we came up with these for Pesach, for Passover also. So we didn't do this over the Seder, but during one of the lunches. We had all these different fruits out, different vegetables out. So one example is we had sprigs of dill out. L'skor shehalayla hazeh leil shimurim, to remember that this night is a night of guarding. When God took us out of Egypt, the Hebrew word for dill is shamir, and that sounds like shimurim. So puns are just as bad here as they are for Rosh Hashanah, but we had a lot of fun with this. You can do this in English also. Put cooked yams out to remember how Israel crossed the Yam Suf, or the Red Sea, when leaving Egypt. A couple years ago, Rabbi Alex Lazarus Klein, if I'm not mistaken, he's in Albany. If he's online, please correct me. Came up with sent me a couple tongue twisters. And we've used those at our Seder. Sarah Kapitnikoff this year came up with a couple, and here's one that she came up with. I kid not about the good. I can't do it. I kid not about the good kid goat I got. I was doing fine last night when I was practicing. Again, these are things that you can do with younger kids, also older kids, and even adults. Every year there are new Haggadahs coming out. This came out a couple years ago. My favorite, hands down. Hats off to Jordan Gorfinkel and Erez Sadok for designing this, the Passover Haggadah as a graphic novel. Absolutely brilliant. The way they tie in both Pesach, the story of Pesach, in a modern way, but also bringing back the original story and tying that through and weaving all the different timelines together in an amazing, creative, sensitive way, and beautiful way. To me, was fantastic. Very highly recommended. Other Haggadahs that have come out, Martin Bodek, who's local, translated the Haggadah into emoji. Not sure you can use that during the Seder so easily, but you can take some of those pages and use those as puzzles for kids who certainly know emoji from their cell phones, and can use that, have them translate a paragraph or two of the Haggadah and have them work at that. He also came up last year with a Haggadah that translated the English into Elizabethan Shakespearean English. I wasn't sure how that was going to go over, and I wasn't sure where people were going to go with that. And my wife just got into it. And you never know what's going to hit people. She was, as we go through the Seder, oh, listen to how he translates this. And we're all laughing at it. It was fantastic. So hats off to him. This year, I think he came up with one based around Star Wars for anyone who's a Star Wars fan. Don't forget, you're not just going to have kids, and you're not just going to be at the Seder, but many of us will have older parents and grandparents at the Seder. The Burma shave signs was the beginning of ideas to try to bring them into the Seder and give them things that they may remember, and get them excited for the Seder. Again, it also is a way of pushing the beginning of the Seder to before the Seder for when your guests arrive. It's another one which we didn't make. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. For 8 days, we eat in 11. Seder surprises. Hats off to Stacy Lancy, one of our neighbors, who several years ago, we woke up the morning after the Seder to a sticky note on our door saying, sorry, I missed you, sort of a la FedEx or UPS. First attempt, I'll try again tomorrow, Eliyahu Navi. Second attempt, second day, we woke up to the same thing, just for the second attempt, but instead, we'll see you next year in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. Half a dozen of the kids in the neighborhood were all clamoring, trying to figure out who put this together. They're all convinced it was me. I sure wanted it to be me. I thought it was brilliant. I wish I had thought of it, but it wasn't. And over the course of the holiday, they figured out who it was. Hats off to Stacy for this idea. She and her family dropped this off at our door last year, and we thought this was a riot. We, of course, made a label, put a receipt on it. You can sort of see it at the top next to two coins for the 2 zuzim that we taped to the box. And you can sort of just make out a receipt for a goat paid for with 2 zuzim from the Burlington Goat Factory. That was we added that, but hats off to Stacy Lancy for this idea. Last year, I finally broke down, bought an ice cream machine, something I'd been thinking about over the years, and Black Friday, we got it really cheap. And we made parv ice cream for the holiday, for dessert, for the different meals. And we made different flavors. We made them a la Pesach or a la other, maybe I'll say a la mode, other stories from the Chumash. So banana split the Red Sea, rocky road out of Mitzrayim, midnight dark chocolate, Noah's floating house of pears sorbet. So we made that out of pears and apple juice. Adam and Eve's apple and cinnamon sorbet. We made that out of apple juice. Do any of these, lots of these, and just became another fun way to create excitement at the table. Different websites that are good to remember. Oriental Trading, we've mentioned. Rhode Island Novelty. They sort of have a lot of overlap, a lot of these little props, a lot of these little very cheap but plentiful little things that you can put on the table. A lot of overlap, but they also have each of their own things that the other doesn't sell, and they each sell in different quantities. So depending on your family and how many you need, you may want to look at both these places. Seders for You. This is Murray Spiegel's website. If you want the book 300 Ways to say Manishtana, he sells it there. You can get it elsewhere. I've seen it on Amazon. I've seen it in the Judaica bookstores. I bring this up because he has a lot of ideas, including some of these that we've put up on his website for different activities and different props to have at the Seder. He's also very big, he and his wife are very big into themed Seders. So if this is up your alley, highly recommend you look at their website, because he's a ton of themed Seders that you can take from him and use. Simchat Yechio website based out of Beit Shemesh in Israel. I don't know the people. I wish I did. But they have a number of games that can be played at different holiday meals, not just Pesach, but also Sukkot and other holidays. For Pesach, they have a taboo game. They also have other ideas for different games that you can play at the table. Two good Facebook pages. Kaif Imodeh Hashanah Festival Fun, run by Shira Greenspan. Also Parsha Fun, also run by Shira Greenspan. People put up various ideas for different holidays and also for each week. Different people will put up different things that they're doing to create excitement around that week's Parsha. People put up things that they're cooking for the meal, reminiscent of what might be mentioned in the Parsha or might remind their kids of that week's Parsha. Post game, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you for willing to spend an hour and 15 minutes with me tonight. As I said, this is a whirlwind. A lot of fantastic ideas. Thank you for the adult ed committees of Shari Tefillah, Rinat Yisrael, Beth Aaron, 3 schools here in Teaneck, New Jersey. The Parents Association of Yavin Academy, one of the local elementary day schools. These are fantastic organizations. Please support them. But even if not these, support your own shul, support your own organization. And if you've gotten ideas from here, from our workshop tonight, please pay it back to your own organization and to your own shul and school. Special thanks to Shir Shirowitz, Rabbi Shirowitz's wife, who's been a sounding board for me for many years for ideas for the Seder. Thank you to Rabbi Shirowitz and the RCBC for helping to take this workshop online in 2020. The Jewish Federation, who did not have the manpower this year, took it on in 2021 and 2022. Thank you to them. Also, a special thanks to my wife and the other sultans in our family who put up with my antics and who've come up with their own over the years. Do try these at home. Do not do everything in every year. Take a couple ideas. Just a couple ideas are enough to turn your Seder into an amazing Seder. Please send me your name. Please send me your email. Tell me what ideas you enjoy. Tell me ideas what you're going to use. Tell me your own ideas. As you can see, I learned from other people also, and there are ideas on here that I've come up that I've seen from other people. Any emails that I get, I put them into a raffle and draw a lottery, draw a raffle, and one person will get a special prop for the Seder. Pick up in Teaneck. I live in Teaneck. So it's got to be local. Chag Kasher V'Sameach. Have a happy kosher holiday. May we all pray for speedy return for all the hostages, speedy recovery for all those who were injured, speedy recovery for all the soldiers who are currently defending Eretz Yisrael. As I said, there are ways to remember this even as we are having fun at our Seder. It's quite appropriate to have a moment where we remember these special people at our Seder. This is my email. My email has also been on the bottom of almost every slide. You have my email. You have questions. This is being recorded. We will hopefully get this up online, and we can get a link out to anyone who wants. Email me, and we'll get the link out to you. I see in the chat there are a couple questions. Actually, I don't see any questions per se. Just thank you for this great. Someone's suggesting Benny's educational toys, cotton balls for hail. Someone serves platters of crudité and olives after karpas. And those are different ideas that people have put up in the chat. Send me your own ideas. If anyone has questions, I'm willing to stay on right now. If you have questions, please unmute and ask. Otherwise, thank you for coming out and thank you for spending time with me tonight. Hi.
Thank you, Zal.
Thank you so much.
I had a couple of my members on tonight who enjoyed
Excellent.
it.
This is the
And
other side of me that you didn't get to see.
well, I think it's pretty cool. Thank you.
Everyone have a fantastic night. Chag Hashem Sameach. And have a great night.
I look forward to getting the recording.
I'll send that link out.
Cool. Bye, Tov.